Hello, 10th grade Dragons. This is Mrs. McShane, the College Career and Dual Enrollment Coordinator for Jefferson City Schools. Today in our Pride session, we're going to cover the PSAT. What in the world is it, and why in the world should 10th graders have to take it? So, the preliminary SAT, which is also called the PSAT-NMSQT, the NMSQT part stands for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, and that's something that students can opt in to take as a junior. And it's a great resource because it gives you great practice for taking the SAT for real, which most juniors start to do around spring of their junior year. But it also enters students automatically into this huge database of potential scholarships that they wouldn't normally have access to if they didn't take the PSAT their junior year. But today we're going to focus on why 10th graders should take it. The 10th grade PSAT will not count for an actual college admissions test score. You still have to take the real SAT. But remember, the PSAT is preliminary, and another word we want to use for that is practice. It's going to give you a great deal of knowledge about how you're currently performing, and it's going to give you a great report that shows you all the great skills and talents that you're already being able to demonstrate in that testing environment. And it's also going to give you a little bit of insight on areas that you might want to pay attention to as you get ready to take the SAT for real or get ready to take the PSAT fall of your junior year. So the test will be administered on October the 14th at Jefferson High School, and that's the Wednesday that we come back from fall break. So the first thing most students want to ask is, well, how long is this test? How much time do I have to spend invested in this? When you consider the time it takes just to get everybody settled in and get the test handed out, it takes about 3 hours. And you can see from this little circle graph that there are 4 sections, 2 in math. You can use a calculator on a portion of the math section. And then there's evidence-based reading and writing and language. So what I'd like to show you now is just a resource that you and your family can kind of look at maybe over fall break. And it's going to show you some resources that you can choose to take advantage of in order to get the best possible score. And the reason for that that is such a good idea to do rather than just kind of going into the test blind, so to speak, is that you're really going to get a more accurate picture on the knowledge that you genuinely have versus just maybe missing some questions because you didn't have the right test taking strategies. So when we jump over to the College Board, you'll see up at the very top is this little yellow icon with the sign in. I definitely encourage any student in high school to go ahead and set up your College Board account. There is a wealth of information and resources, things like college planning, things that you should do every year in high school, career searches. So for those students who might at this point in 10th grade, we don't really even have a concrete plan yet, maybe. So for some students who are thinking that they want to go directly into the world of work or maybe take a different route through apprenticeships or going through a technical college first, there's still a great amount of resources on here that can help you do some career planning. So after you log in and get your account set up, or you can actually use these resources without setting up an account, we're going to hop down here to the bottom where it shows us some of the topics for the PSAT NMSQT. And the first thing that pops up on this dashboard is a practice test because, again, it's so important that you don't go into this test cold or blind, however you want to describe it. So many sophomores have told me over the years that they didn't even know they were taking the PSAT the morning they strolled into school. So they didn't take it seriously. Some students didn't even finish the test. But the reason it's so important to practice is with COVID-19, it has really changed how these test scores are used in terms of future planning. So one of the great things that 10th graders can do, if you score really well on the PSAT, some of the dual enrollment colleges as you move into that junior year might actually use those PSAT scores to help appropriately place you into classes, especially the math and the science. And so if you've already done well on that in a 10th grade, then you avoid having to take additional tests when you're trying to meet those deadlines for dual enrollment later on. So as we scroll down here, we're going to start with these section topics. So the first one is inside the test. You can actually click on this link and it will give you concrete examples of what the reading test questions will look like, how long those passages are. The writing portion will share with you some of the grammar expectations that they want you to show on those correct answers in responding to the writing topics. The math section is going to be really important just for you to get comfortable and confident with knowing how the computation problems work and in comparison to some of those word problems that you might have. Those are the ones that's going to really require you to strategize and be able to pace yourself time-wise. And so taking the test, I think your teachers will pretty much tell you what to do in that area. But what I want to focus on with you is the scholarship and recognition tab. And again, remember, I totally understand that as a 10th grader, first semester in, trying to recover from ninth grade COVID, right now you're just trying to survive. So planning ahead in terms of where you're going to be with your mindset about college planning, your junior and senior year seems so far off. But this is where I kind of want you to trust us here at Jefferson. If we're putting this information in front of you and saying, hey, do your best, pay attention to this, we can assure you that when it's time to make those big decisions your junior and senior year, you're going to be so happy that you put the effort in now because some of this information is going to be so useful later on. So hopping into one of those reasons why is looking at these national recognition programs. So if you scroll down here, you'll notice that the benefits of taking this. And again, this is the test that you will take as a junior, but remember the 10th grade PSAT is going to help you prepare for that. There's several organizations that have major foundations that are just waiting for students to access them. We actually have a winner out of our senior class this year who won this rural and small town recognition, which comes from the Jack Kent Cook Foundation. So students that are residents of Jackson County and participate at Jefferson High School are considered being in a rural population. So no matter how you kind of perceive that, you can apply for this foundation. And if you met the criteria with your PSAT scores, it's major recognition that will help you get into colleges. Sometimes colleges will reach out to students and give them packages and offers in terms of scholarships to go to their schools. So there's a couple of other ones that we want to pay attention to. The Jackie Robinson Foundation focuses on African American recognition. The Hispanic recognition is through the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, which partners with several different foundations. One is the Goizeta, and another one is a couple of other Hispanic endowments. And then we have the Indigenous recognition, which is for Native American populations. And so national recognition programs, what you would do is sign up for this as the part of the College Board Student Search Service. So as a 10th grader, you have an option to sign into this as well. So I'm going to give you a heads up. When you do this and you get your scores for your PSAT, you're probably going to get tons of emails and tons of mail in your snail mail box as well. And you might even start to receive these summer camp encouragement programs. And they're great because what they're telling you is that your PSAT scores were pretty impressive and they think you might be a good fit for some enrichment programs over the summer. Now, unfortunately, those programs are not free of charge for students, but they are a great resource if you want to explore things like STEM, forensic science, engineering, medicine. So there's some great topics that can come out of you participating in this student search. So let's kind of hop back to over here and let's look at the practice. You can actually download some paper and pencil practice tests, and they will give you the directions on how to score those on your own. And then you can look here for some sample questions. And the great thing that I love about this is when you take the PSAT for the first time and your scores are uploaded into the College Board website, at that moment, you can actually sync those scores with the Khan Academy. Now, I remember decades ago, the Khan Academy, when it first came out, was very, very expensive because it was such an elite resource that really had great results in improving test scores. And a few years back, they decided to partner with College Board and offer this as a free service. And so what the Khan Academy will do is it will look at your results, tell you exactly what your strengths are in those test strategies that you already have nailed down. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time working on those anymore. You need to focus on the areas of content that you haven't been exposed to yet, or maybe practice the strategies that you're not real strong in. So when the time comes for you to take the PSAT as a junior or the SAT, you are ready to go, and it will really boost your end result. So going back to here, if we go back, let's see, let's hop back a page. What we're going to talk about next, and I'm actually going to show you a little video, is how to read the scores when they come back. So 10th graders taking the PSAT should get your score reports right around Christmas time, and you'll get them through an email notification, and then it will give you directions on how to create your student account if you haven't already done that. But if you have, you can also log in and see your score report from the portal. And so the score report will show you that the score that you have earned is actually very equivalent to what a real SAT score would be. So, for example, as a 10th grader, if you scored at 1100, then that would be the equivalent of an 1100 on the SAT score, which is quite good. So, another important phase of this, since it's kind of coming in around the same time as we'll begin registration in early winter, second semester, is AP score reports. It takes the information that you produce through the PSAT and it tells you, hey, you've got really good skill sets in this. Have you thought about taking an AP? Because research says students that score along these lines generally really do well on the AP exam with this content. So it's going to be a little bit of encouragement. And I love it because some students don't always consider themselves as AP material. And when you get that AP report, you kind of start to look at yourself in a little bit of a different light. And it may challenge you to take some more of that rigor. Remember earlier, I mentioned that some colleges are going test optional, so maybe the SAT won't be as critical as it has been in the past. But those AP courses and the rigor that it shows that you did, like you took the most challenging coursework, and especially if you combine that with a 3 or higher on your exam, that is really going to weigh more heavily now in admissions than it has in the past because we're sort of getting away from that SAT and ACT admission standard. So let's go back here to our next slide. Let's talk about what your score report is going to look like. And I'm going to kind of start to play this video for you because it explains it so much better.
Congratulations on taking the PSAT NMSQT. Now it's time to see your scores, which you can get on your phone or a computer. The first thing you'll see is your total score, which is a combination of your scores on the evidence-based reading and writing and math sections. These scores give you an idea of how you'll do on the SAT and how ready you are for college. Your test scores, cross-test scores, and sub-scores give you even more details about how you did in specific areas. Scores in green show your strengths. Scores in yellow and red help you understand where you need to improve. Go to Skills Insight to dig even deeper and see what your scores say about your skills and how you can develop them further. Thinking about your scores and making a plan to improve are important steps towards college. The PSAT NMSQT has provided millions of eligible students with the opportunity to enter the National Merit Scholarship Program, an annual academic competition for recognition and scholarships. Go to the NMSC Selection Index section to see if you meet the entry requirements. You can also use your PSAT NMSQT scores to start preparing for the SAT. Go to satpractice.org to create and link your College Board and Khan Academy accounts to get started. Your PSAT NMSQT test scores will get imported into Khan Academy and give you a personalized SAT study plan to help you practice the areas where you need the most work. Most students take the SAT in the spring of their junior year and again in August or the fall of their senior year. Don't forget to register. Taking challenging classes is another great way to prepare for college. The AP Potential section of your score report tells you which AP classes would be great for you. Speak to your teacher or counselor to learn more about AP. You can also explore careers based on your interests and then find compatible college and career options. Here's a quick recap. Don't forget to review your scores, learn more about scholarship and recognition opportunities, practice and register for the SAT, find the AP classes that are best for you, and explore college and career options.
Okay. So I hope that was a little helpful. I know that's a lot of information, and I really appreciate the fact that you are paying such good attention to this. I'm going to go back up to this right here. collegeboard.org. Again, I want you to remember that if you have lots of time over fall break, just hop onto this website and look under that PSAT NMSQT link and kind of look over that practice test, maybe even take a few on your own and then just see how well you score. It'll really give you some really good test taking strategies because, again, the whole purpose is for you just to be a little bit informed. But I don't want you to stress about this test because, again, it has no bearing on your grades. It has no bearing on how we place you into classes. It's just a really good resource for you to understand how you're learning, how you're progressing, and how you need to prepare for the real SAT. And again, some of the added benefits are just a lot of student recognition and a whole lot of scholarship potential. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a really great day.